setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. Hopefully you have the notification that says like it's happening.
Yeah, it says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
We good? Hi, everyone. This is Anna McLean from your PIC Connection Podcast. I'll be your host again today. Again, we have Alec Italiano.
Hello, everybody.
And a different guest today is Colin Beatty.
Hello, everyone.
So today we're going to be talking about the different virtual learnings that are happening around in our area right now. Due to obviously COVID, there has been a change in how schools approach teaching their students. So we're going to talk about how schools in the area have moved to virtual learning and also some ways that PIC has actually been able to move around the virtual learning also. So Colin, how are some of the ways that PIC has moved to the virtual learning?
So PIC has moved to the virtual learning platform through using Zoom, applications like Zoom, Google Docs, even with our early childhood division, we're using, some classrooms are using Class Dojo. We're even looking at possibly in the future incorporating platforms like Microsoft Teams. So
Yeah, and for whenever we started out with the STEM classrooms, we were able to actually host a virtual grand opening that actually went over pretty well.
Yeah, we used Zoom as a medium, like a video switcher, and we were able to upload that to Facebook Live. So
Kind of similar to what we're doing right now.
yeah, it is exactly what we're doing right now.
So it's just, I know it got me thinking anyways, more of the ways that we can use Zoom within the organization. So this was cool. I mean, Colin and I sat down and we were like, how do we get Zoom to go live on Facebook? And you Google things enough times and you figure it out, which is really how we did it.
We
but
were able to live stream in Fayette County and Beaver County at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. So it's definitely got us all thinking outside the box, I think, is the point there. So, but I just thought it was cool to say, we knew about Google Drive and we were using it like here and there within the organization. We were using OneDrive, which is basically the same thing, but a Microsoft product instead of a Google product. And then, the shutdown happened and all of a sudden we were using it daily. Yep. We weren't just using, Google Drive or Google Document here and there when convenient. Everything was on.
It was every day.
It was every day. We were tracking daily reports. We were sending documents. People were using, at least in the beginnings, maybe some more personal equipment, like a personal laptop or something that might not have, Word on it or Excel or something like that. But then, you use Microsoft OneDrive or you use Google Docs and it has all of those applications for you. So it really became handy. So.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone had to adapt and change, it kind of forced everyone to get familiar or comfortable with the computer.
Yeah.
It was pretty abrupt.
All right, well, because PIC actually works with a bunch of schools in the area with their after-school programs and also with pre-K programs, how have PIC and those school districts worked together, or just specifically those school districts moved to the virtual?
I'll take the first part if you take the second part. So
for me,
I can speak to the after-school program a little bit because it happened. COVID shutdown happened right in the middle of spring semester, really, for the school. So it was really a last-minute shift into the virtual world. Okay, we're going to start offering it via Zoom. We started doing surveys. Do you have a device at home? Do you have reliable internet? Things along those lines. And then once we got all those answers back, then it was okay. Now we have to build a curriculum for the teachers to actually implement it virtually. So, we were setting up pickup stations and, doing our best to say, we have these materials, we're going to mail them to you. What are some best practices of doing that for COVID? leave it on the porch, step 6 feet away, they would come and pick it up type of situation. So it was a lot of planning. I remember we were having Zoom planning sessions for, not just the after school programs, but really like all operations within PIC.
Yeah.
And we must have been on like 37 different plans by the time we were done with it. But, I was really proud of the staff, the way we were kind of able to adapt. And then when we started doing the summer programming, we had a little bit more time to prepare.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot easier. Colin was part of that. He did a whole virtual, you can talk about that maybe a little bit. It was coding, right?
It was coding.
Yeah.
I did scratch coding lessons with the kids. I'm not the only one though. I had Michelle and Noah with me, so can't.
But that was a good example of doing more of an online-based curriculum that we probably normally wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Without virtual learning platforms. So that was cool. And now as we get into the new semester, the fall semester, every school district is different now, and I think we're going to talk about this a little later. But that has been the new challenge is basically trying to figure out where everybody is.
Yeah.
And then how to fit into their school
PIC works
district.
with so many different school
We
districts.
do, yeah. So some are half and half. They're coming in on Mondays and Thursdays. Some are back, with the virtual option. So they're back 5 days a week in the school, but they have the option to not do it. So we're kind of trying to figure out how that would play. And then sometimes it's different for an elementary school or a middle school versus a high school. So it's really a lot to digest.
A lot of planning.
A lot of planning.
Yeah.
So it's been fun though.
Yeah. So I guess for the second portion of that question, I'm actually gonna, if it's all right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
It's okay by me.
Connected here.
It's okay with you, Anna?
I guess so.
Okay, she says yes.
So I go and share here. So there's like I mentioned that there's some classrooms now you two aren't able to see it, but I'll turn my laptop here. Class Dojo, this is actually one of the things that we kind of like rush to implement or kind of adapt like back in March and April. It's a free platform for educators to use. So I have a demo classroom here. Teachers, our Head Start teachers, and I don't know if any of our pre-K have like really picked up on this or not, but there's it's a free platform. It kind of operates like social media, like a Facebook almost. You have your classroom, so like your friends list or whatever, like you can go and add children and their parents, and then there's like individualized child portfolios. They have like how-to videos built right in. Class story, you can go and upload activities, photos, videos. You can even record videos within this, but it doesn't have all the capabilities of something like Zoom, where you can do like, live video conferencing, or like Microsoft Teams, how you can do live videoing there. So there are some limitations with it. Google Classrooms, I know like G Suite has way more to offer, but you're either paying for G Suite or you get it for free. You have to apply for it. So there's definitely like a bunch of platforms out there that different schools have been working with. I know for us, mainly it's been using Class Dojo, Zoom, or like, incorporating like Google Drive and OneDrive to do some file sharing. So
yeah, it's cool. I'm glad you were able to show that to everybody. I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of different terms. Like I thought I knew at least cloud-based software pretty well. And then, Dojo, and then there was other ones that we were playing around with and we were looking at. I'm trying to remember that one that Shauna was always mentioning. Looked into it. But there was just
House Party.
House Party.
That's what it was.
So we're doing these like pro and con lists of all these different virtual platforms to say what's good about it, what's not good about it. Is it free? How much data is it using too? That was another consideration that,
Well, and it also depends on like what age group you're trying to look into.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
because high schoolers are probably gonna be very, very different than like an elementary school kid would be.
Yeah, and I think too, like you had mentioned about data, that's like the biggest
Mhm.
barrier that people are facing right now, especially like, parents who come from like underprivileged or under income households. Like, they don't have internet, or they're limited on how much data they have. Now there are like, there's different options that they can apply for out there
Yeah.
to get like some sort of like startup internet, but still it's limited. It's a struggle. And I think that's like what a lot of schools realize going virtual. So,
Right.
Yeah, especially with like laptops and everything not being allowed at libraries. Definitely hard for people to figure out where they can go, get free Wi-Fi if need be.
And like libraries were shut down during
Yeah.
COVID, and I heard stories of people going to McDonald's parking lots and things like that.
it's
So
kind of the,
that's what we want to prevent from happening,
Right.
if possible.
It's-
You
it's available too, but like it may not meet the demands that like
yeah.
you're having to upload like a video or some sort of activity. Like,
Are you still sharing your screen, by the way? Speaking of uploading video.
no,
Okay, good. We don't want the connection to lag on us.
yeah, no, I stopped.
But I think it's a good point, and that was a lot of grants we were looking at last year. It seemed like there was a push for more internet-based, solutions out, and especially the rural areas, the underserved areas, because you could be in a town. I don't want to call Greensburg big, but it's not big by any stretch of the imagination, but over 10,000 people. And still not have a really great internet options anyways, So then you could only imagine going down the street to some of the other, more rural communities out here, they're not going to have the speed. And I know we did a lot of education internally, being like, 20 megabytes per second is a good internet speed, but, we're only getting 5 right now or whatever the case might be. So that plays into it. A lot of people rely on those hotspots. We use them here at PIC a lot. And then we were even passing those out to families and things like that. But the thing to realize with those is they're only as good as the 4G or 3G cell service that you have.
Mhm.
So if you're up on the mountain or, down in a holler or something like that, you might not, get good, you might have some internet,
Yeah.
but it might not be anything near enough to run a class dojo or a Zoom meeting,
Being from Fayette, go up to Ohio Pile or Mill Run or something, like I don't have any service.
Right.
So
if you don't have any service on your phone, you're not going to have any service with your hotspot, basically is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. So,
Well, not only have finding hotspots and making sure everybody has enough Wi-Fi connection, because now people are doing a whole hybrid option with schools, childcare has become a very hot topic for people, because if your parent is having to go back to work and the child is now going back into the actual classroom,
right.
what kind of options are out there for parents who need childcare for those kind of days that they're in their house, making sure their child is getting the education, but the other days when they're actually having to be in the office?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Anna. And something that a lot of the families we deal with are going through right now. So, and I think that's why school districts are changing their policy a little bit from elementary schools to high schools, aged kids, students, because maybe a elementary school person, child needs to be, at least supervised, all day. Whereas a 16-year-old could, go take a class from home unsupervised. So I think those are a lot of the considerations, but our Head Start and our pre-K programs, I think just shows again how invaluable they are to get, as people are starting to go back to work and, hopefully knock on wood, the restrictions are starting to ease up. How's that going to look? So I don't know if you saw anything on your side of things with the technology side, Colin.
just trying to get everyone, antiquated with all the different platforms and tools, and making sure everyone has like the tech that, in order to support this virtual learning.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working from home. More people are working from home, and then
Yeah.
can I work from home and like help my, kid out doing homework
Make
and
sure
things.
there's not a child coming in on a Zoom.
Yeah, and
call.
I think
Yeah.
there's been a lot of examples out there, and you see it like, oh, this person, was, I don't know, something happened in the background of a
Yeah.
Zoom meeting, and I think it's bound to happen, but it is weird how things have shifted. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, it's just a different like school year and, trying to get everyone like accustomed to it and like, getting employers to understand too, like, my child, like we don't have any type of childcare or
Mhm.
something. And like, I have to help,
mhm.
virtual learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with our after school programs. So the child may go to school during the day, oh, I don't get home till work until 5:30, 6 o'clock. That was, I don't want to say the sole purpose of that after school program, but it gave,
It was a
of
it.
it gave the child something to do between the hours of
yeah.
3:30 and 5:30 or 6, when mom or dad got home, or a guardian or whoever. So, that was something to consider when you start doing these virtual, you're going to lose that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot to consider. So I know like the after school programs got pushed back. We're not starting them until October 6th. So it kind of gives everybody a little bit of time to figure out what we're going to have to do. Do I need to find childcare for these days or those days, or, what the case might be for an individual family. But at least us working with the school districts, I think everybody kind of needed that time to, work out some of the wrinkles there. So,
Yeah. Definitely think it's going to be a little frustrating though, working out those wrinkles.
oh, it will be for sure. I mean,
But at least with the last semester of last year, those wrinkles probably got more figured out.
mhm.
Yeah,
For
definitely.
this coming year, it's still interesting trying to figure out what's going on. But,
Definitely. I still think, like the biggest thing that people need to understand is like to be patient with it.
Right.
It's not like, it's not something that was set, like that's going to be set in stone,
Mhm.
that, is going to be permanent, but also this is like, it's new,
Right.
even though we did have it last semester, now like, over the summer, schools had time to go and like adjust and kind of implement like
Order equipment.
order equipment, buy licenses to
Yeah.
applications and products, and not everything's perfect. There's going to be issues with internet connections.
Right.
There's going to be issues with trying to connect to
Mhm.
like maybe a license code wasn't entered. Like people got to understand, like,
And that's all IT help and trying to figure it out as you're going.
there's only so many of us out there,
Yeah, I mean, I saw on the news, Pittsburgh Public Schools, they're trying to get the laptops out to everybody. It wasn't just them. It was a lot of different school districts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These laptops are on back order. Chromebooks you
Yeah.
can't even find anymore.
I mean,
You
you go to Amazon or like Newegg or a bunch of, Walmart, like
Best
you try
Buy, yeah.
to order a laptop or like something specific. Like
Mhm.
I know there's shortages on power supplies out there. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that
The hotspots,
Yeah, the
those
hotspots
are hard to come by these
scarce.
days. So, I mean, everyone's adjusting and we'll figure out a way. It's just one of my favorite sayings, technology is only great when it works, So it's really frustrating when it doesn't work. You want to throw it out the window
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of times, but that goes back to your point, Colin, to just try to be patient and
Yeah.
bear with educators and providers of these programs to say, hey, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're trying to get through this together. So.
Even though it's been kind of a hard transition, there have been some pretty remarkable things that have come out of it, like learning wise.
Mhm.
Because of that, do you think there's going to be a permanent change in education with how people can now do virtual?
I'll let you take that.
I would say, just based off of being, having an education background, I do think it's going to kind of alter like the future for how schools offered. I think, schools are going to be looking at offering, online versus in person.
Well, in PA, we've got things called snow days. Do you think they're going to do virtual snow days?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility.
So if there's a snow day, you have to do virtual now.
Yeah.
You can't just have the day off and go make a snowman, right?
If you really look at like what some of these school districts have done, going to like some of the elementary schools around here that we have like pre-K or Head Start in, classrooms are set up with Chromebooks. They're using Google Classroom, and that's virtual. So if you take your Chromebook home, you can still complete homework there or in class.
And I think some schools and school districts were more prepared for this than others, obviously. A lot of them had already incorporated a Chromebook or some technology element into the classroom. We were building the STEM classrooms in Aliquippa last year, and part of that order was a lot of laptops, And so, I was thinking of them during this whole thing. I was like, good. I'm glad that we did it last year because then when the pandemic happened, it wasn't like they had to scramble to try to find laptops. They already had them, so that was good. But, maybe a school district that was only using it for, like, I know in Menneson, I believe the high school and the middle school students, I know the high school students definitely had them, Chromebooks or a device anyways, but then the elementary, students didn't. So then it was like scramble time, so it just depends, where they are, but.
Well, and the world's already going towards such an online presence. It probably helped to like push it a little bit more into that world.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a bit of a shock for everyone, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely was. So I guess to answer your question, yes, this will alter probably long-term educational plans. So we'll see how we adapt. I mean, there was already like a PA cyber school set up. There was already even some school districts were doing their own mini version of a cyber school because they didn't really want to lose those students altogether in the district. So, and then you always had like homeschool kids already and things like that. So, and I've heard some commentary about the social interaction and, that was kind of like what you're getting when you go to school and things like that. So, I think as long as you kind of find other ways of doing that, like I was always in Boy Scouts and there was always a bunch of homeschool kids that would come because it was for that social interaction piece, So you never saw them in school, but, you saw them at Scouts or something like that. So maybe, sports, extracurricular, band, I mean, all that stuff still needs to be in person, so.
Kids in the neighborhood, I'm fortunate enough, I grew up next to all my friends that I'm still friends with. So, kids are all on PlayStation. They play video games. Like that's a big thing now. So it just, there's other ways to socialize. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like people need to understand it's not going to take away from social interaction.
Just make sure you're safe.
Yeah, just make sure you're safe.
I'll ask the question to you, Anna, because you're still in school. You're at Seton Hill.
Yeah.
How's it been for you going back to a higher education?
Honestly, it's not so different. Seton Hill is a very small campus to begin with.
Right.
For most of the part, everybody's doing their hardest to make sure everybody's safe. Everybody's wearing their masks properly, and if they're not, they get asked politely, can you make sure you're wearing your mask? We have protocols set in place, like there's an up staircase, there's a down staircase, there's
like what you see in the grocery store and stuff. Yeah.
People actually listen to these ones.
That is true.
But the only thing that's different is people just aren't hanging outside.
Okay.
Only because if you're outside, you have to wear your mask.
Right.
Because the only people you cannot wear your mask around is your roommates. And if you have to wear a mask outside with the 80+ degree weather we've been having the past couple of weeks, it's been too hot.
Come wintertime, we'll all love it.
Oh, yeah.
We already had the built-in neck guards.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, but throughout summer, you're right. It was, it was tough. I mean, if you worked outside, it had to have been really difficult to wear a mask, and like
and everybody's
breathe heavily into
doing
it,
their best.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to say that there's not a single person on campus who's not following the rules, but that wouldn't be the truth.
Yeah.
There's always going to be those people, but everybody at Seton Hill is making sure that they're taking care of themselves and their other fellow classmates, which is really important, which is what everybody else in the community is starting to learn also, that when the students are at Seton Hill, they are making sure that it's not just Seton Hill they're taking care of. they're making sure in the public, we're making sure that you have your mask on and just, yeah, everybody's doing their part.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know here at PIC, it seems like the COVID pandemic has pushed us a little further down the technology road,
Oh, yeah.
I guess, you know. You could definitely attest to this, Colin, but it was, I don't want to say a struggle to get people to like buy into Zoom and things like that, because that's not really the word. It was just hard to get people to think about how to use the application, for their job. Sometimes it was obvious, like, okay, we're doing a case management one-on-one type of thing. Okay, Zoom would be good for that. And we were using Zoom for that kind of stuff because transportation's always a barrier, so this is one thing that, technology it's a pro, is it kind of helps eliminate that transportation as a barrier. And in a one-on-one setting, okay, that's pretty good. But then after post-pandemic, I shouldn't say post-pandemic because we're still in it, but at least after the summer here, we started doing, they called them the earn corners on Zoom. And that was basically just open to the public, it was open to not the public, but the earn clients.
Yeah.
So we started doing a lot more of that kind of thing. The Career Link started doing their virtual classes that, those were basically open to the public. So it was like a lot more, how can I offer this to everybody? Even what we're doing here with Facebook Live, we were doing podcasts and things like that before, the pandemic, but I think this has pushed us to just, again, think outside the box and say, how can we use technology more in our everyday work, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So that was.
I'm looking at the clock here. Yeah, I think we're about a half an hour in.
I think we're pretty good there.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and watching our PIC Connection podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.